Alright, so this is my family assessment. So in order to give privacy to this family, I disclosed the family's names and have some made-up names. So Cal and Maddie have been married for almost 9 to 10 years. They're both 29 years old. Cal is military background. He is currently working at a chemical plant. Maddie, she's unemployed, but she's the main sole caregiver. Not sole caregiver, but she's a stay-at-home mom, essentially, with Tyler and Kyle when they're not in school. So I couldn't get a lot as far as medical diagnosis of the family and the lineage due to respect of the family members. Maddie did not want to disclose a lot. They did lose Kyle's brother to a car accident a year ago. And then most of the siblings of Cal and Maddie are between 29 and 40. They have ADHD and hypertension in the family. I did at least get some of that. So this is the ego map. The big points on this for this family, they do have a good bond with extended family with a little bit of stress on Maddie's part. Due to differences of opinions. They love to travel, does good for their family. Cal's the sole parent who works. And then both Tyler and Kyle are in school this year coming up, and then they are both enjoying soccer. So this family is in between third stage and fourth stage, with one kid going into preschool and the other being in a school age time frame. They do maintain the bond and intimacy of husband and wife. They are kind of coping with energy depletion, but a lot of time is spent on the boys, adjusting to different temperaments of the styles of the children. So they both have, one is quiet, the other is very active, very sociable. They have a good understanding of the normal growth and development of their two boys as they are getting older. As far as the fourth stage, they are in the process of working on authority and socialization rules in school. Tyler hasn't been the best as far as behavior wise with his ADHD, and it's a work in progress. And then they are supporting the children with extracurriculars, going to see friends, joining soccer, being on a soccer team, things like that. So when it comes to communication patterns, both Cal and Maddie are both functional sender and receivers. They feedback off of each other. They're very interesting because they have a big difference in politics. One's a Republican, one's a Democrat, but they really, when it comes down to the boys, they agree on the parenting style. They agree on the core values. They banter back and forth. They have that kind of little relationship. And then they've been married for quite some time, so they've evolved their communications, and I've seen it from the beginning to now. The younger boys, they're kind of at the age where they're kind of getting dysfunctional receiver styles. They kind of do interrupt when mom and daddy are on the phone or talking with somebody. They have a hard time listening sometimes. Tyler more than Kyle, because Kyle still kind of follows around, does whatever mom and daddy says. But overall, Kyle's a little bit better listener than Tyler. He's a little bit more distracted. Cal is, as far as power, both parents are referent, but Cal is more of the resource expert power because of what he attributes to the family, being the sole financial provider. Maddie is also a good role model for the kids. Those boys are at the age where they're noticing little things. They're seeing how they are responding to fights or disagreements per se. But overall, when it boils down, they're egalitarian. With the big decisions, they come as come together as wife and husband to figure out what's best for the family. Is it time to move? Is it time to stay? They recently moved 3 years ago from Virginia after it was time for him to step away from the military and move closer to family. When it comes to roles, Cal, like I've mentioned before, he's the sole income provider for this family. So he helps provide food, shelter, and all those things. For Maddie, she's there for the kids, bringing them to appointments. If they're at home, she's making the meals. They do make meals together sometimes, but she's keeping the house kind of in order if she can, helping the kids with their homework, things like that. And then as far as informal, I put Cal as an initiator and contributor. He does propose new ideas and ways to regard group problems and goals. And I kind of put, I could put that as for Maddie as well. They were both have different ideas that they bring to the table. But she is the organizer of the family as far as getting the house in order, making the appointments with the healthcare providers, making speech therapist appointments and seeing counselors and bringing those, making sure the kids are there on time, and all those things. The boys are kind of at the age where they're starting to get a little bit of responsibilities, might be starting to get some chores, but for the oldest, he's kind of getting into sports more, but so I put him as a recreational role. But as far as the informal role, I put him as a recognition seeker. He loves to figure out if mom and daddy are watching, loves when he gets praised for getting a goal. He does attempt to cause a little bit of attention to himself, not necessarily causing too many problems, but in the classroom it is noted that could be due to part of his ADHD, having a hard time paying attention and whatnot. And then with little Kyle, he follows around. Like, he does sometimes not listen as well, but he's pretty obedient. Like, otherwise he follows the family around. Oh, we're going this. He just tags along. He doesn't have a lot of say as far as I can say, but he's young. He accepts it, and then he's there for the fun. When it comes to values, their core values are balance, work ethics. They love and enjoying the present. They don't focus too much on the future. They want to value their present that they have. They enjoy traveling. They do have a focus on traveling in their life, and will continue that. They have emotional support between family members and financial support, which is a big one for them. Now that they've moved back home, that bond has strengthened. And they're big on equality, tolerance for diversity, and health maintenance as well. In terms of healthcare, so I rated them as a 5 out of 5 on the scale for health maintenance and quality of life. So they live close to an emergency department healthcare provider. It's off the main highway from their street, not too far down. If something happens to the boys at the home or even near their parents' house, some healthcare provider is a quick drive away. They have health insurance with Cal's job, which is great. They don't have to pay out of pocket for it. And then they do see a pediatrician in a local town. That's a 20-minute drive. They are all up to date on vaccines, except for Cal, I believe. He refused to get the COVID vaccine. But of course the kids weren't able to. And then the first thing, Maddie got it right away as soon as she could get it. And then they're pretty up to date on all their annual screenings. They do value sleep. They get a decent amount of sleep, about 8 hours 8 hours of average. If they get less, they probably get about 6 to 8 overall. When it comes to exercise and activities, they love hiking, especially on the trips they go travel on. They're big in soccer, especially with the boys starting soccer games. And then the parents, Cal and Maddie, do a little bit of exercise. Not as much as they used to, though. When I ask about illnesses, they believe illness is frequent colds, fevers, flu-like symptoms, which they get frequent colds a lot because of especially the time of year that they're in school, or the kids are in school. As far as family stressors and coping with balancing sports, appointments, counselors, it does seem to be a lot for Maddie, especially when she's used to doing it all. She does have some family members to support, but doesn't utilize it a lot. As far as differences of opinions with extended family, she has some. Now that they've moved back home in the past 3 years, they've been navigating that because the family wants to be a little bit more involved, and they have been dealing with the death of Cal's brother, which has been a difficult time. But Maddie has had a loss of the grandparent a few years before that, or in the early years of marriage. It wasn't a sibling, but it was a significant loss to her, and she was able to provide comfort to her family. And as far as one way that they do cope, which I believe is they have started increased sharing and family time, like hiking, nature trips. I think they just came back from a big trip, and spending time with alone time with just their immediate family, like the boys and with Maddie and Cal, and then they'll do some trips with each side of the family when possible. So for a diagnosis, there is a little bit of caregiver role strain related to Cal's absence during long turnarounds. This is common with the type of work he does, and if the wife didn't have a job. My hope and the goal is for the family to reduce the caregiver role by the end of 3 months by maybe giving her some time and sharing frustrations regarding parenting responsibilities. The family will identify changes that would improve daily life. The family will also find ways to increase support. This could be sharing. I would introduce and share support groups available. I encourage Maddie to take more time and have self-care. Try to get into those hobbies a little bit more, especially with school coming around the corner. That gives her a little bit more free time. There are risks for child falls. They do have a cluttered environment, 2-story home. It's been a lot on Maddie. These are my goals, outcomes, and interventions. I would definitely provide some safety education. The kids are old enough where they might not necessarily need a a gate in front of the stairwell, but it would be nice to have some guardrails on the stairwell. And these are my resources. Thank you.